Continuous capacity building ensures an effective, responsive, and a well-motivated workforce. And for Naptip, keeping abreast with current global trends in human trafficking is key to fulfilling its mandate of eradicating human trafficking in Nigeria. This is Naptip on the Move, and I am Emmanuel Okeke. Thank you for joining us. Recently, the Conference of Western Attorneys General, Africa Alliance Partnership organized a one-day symposium on the investigation and prosecution of human trafficking and a two-day workshop on combating the scourge of human trafficking for officers of Naptip in Abuja. This episode brings you sights and sounds of this very important workshop. Stay with Naptip on the Move.
Effective partnership is one of the five-prong approach adopted by Naptip in combating the scourge of human trafficking. In recent times, the agency has strengthened its collaboration with relevant agencies of government, embassies, organized private sector, national and international non-governmental organizations, including the Conference of Western Attorneys General, based in the United States of America. Cwag, as it's called, promotes the rule of law and fosters international cooperation in transnational criminal matters. It is on this premise that the Conference of Western Attorneys General is partnering with the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. This partnership informed the just concluded one-day symposium on the investigation and prosecution of human trafficking and a two-day training for Naptip officials in Abuja. The one-day symposium had in attendance many dignitaries, including Attorneys General and Chief Justices of several states in Nigeria, security agencies, the judiciary, civil society organizations, embassies, and regional partners. The Director General of Cwag, African Alliance Partnership, Marcus Green, welcomed all present.
The Conference of Western Attorneys General is basically, it's a bipartisan group that was started almost 20 years ago to work with primarily the Western states in the U.S. To help build their legal systems, to help the Attorney General's offices work on policy issues, and the organization just grew. So Cwag, as part of its expansion, did not just stop with the United States. They started working with other countries, for example, Mexico, and so the thinking was, why stop with Mexico? Why not the continent of Africa? And so we started the Africa Alliance Partnership. It's the acknowledgement that we don't have all the answers and that the world is bigger than us. But we understand that we live in a basically a global village, where if something occurs in Africa, an issue such as human trafficking, it's occurring all over the world. So that impact is recognized, and we recognize the need to have an integrated worldwide justice system.
He also highlighted issues on human trafficking.
If you look at just some of the stats, right, 24.9 million people are impacted through modern day slavery. It's a operation that has generated over $150 billion a year in revenue. So it's a serious operation. And so what I think we ought to think about when we look at human trafficking, we ought to remember why we're doing what we're doing. This should all be about the victim. If our system of justice does anything, it has to be to serve the victim. And with human trafficking, it's particularly acute because that's often an area where the victim is victimized over and over again because they interface with a justice system that is not sensitized to the issues related to prosecuting and handling these cases. So it's extremely important that as we sit here today, we remember and we understand that why we are gathered is for the victim. How do we best serve the voiceless? How do we lend voice to the voiceless? How do we put a face on the faceless? How do we defend the least among us? That's our challenge. That's our challenge as prosecutors, and frankly, that's our challenge as human beings.
The Ambassador of the United States of America to Nigeria, Stuart Symington, presented a goodwill message.
First, this is not a challenge for one country, or one region, or one continent. This is all of our challenge. But I'd love it if you could think of this challenge as being about individual people. And as Nigeria, as all of Africa, as the world works today to bend more rapidly the curve of opportunity and hope, so that young men and women everywhere do not despair and do not fall into this criminal path. We will be moving to the left of this. We'll be moving upstream to stop this horror from occurring. And if we move, in part we will move because of you. For the signals that you send to the traffickers will be joined by signals that you send to farmers, to industrialists, to innovators across the web, all across the spectrum of life. There is opportunity here. There is hope here. You are here. And may the exports of these great lands be goods and services, ideas and innovation, energy and love, and art and inspiration, not victims.
The keynote address on combating the scourge of human trafficking was delivered by the Director General of Naptip, Dame Julie Oka-Donley.
Human trafficking is considered to be tied with illicit arms sale as the second largest source of criminal income worldwide. Human trafficking has negative consequences on individuals, mainly the victims and the society in general. It violates the human rights of the victims. It is degrading and dehumanizing. It results in loss of the deprivation of property rights. It results in personal health risk, could result in death of victims. It fuels public sector corruption. It fuels irregular migration. As an organized crime, it can diversify into other types of crimes like drug trafficking and arms smuggling. The spread of HIV/AIDS and other diseases. It undermines human capital development potentials. It can yield future insecurity through social breakdown and exclusion. It promotes money laundering and other financial crimes which can distort the economy. It can bring about a negative image for the country. Nigeria's grand strategy for national security is to establish a safe and secure environment in which it can focus on achieving a prosperous, democratic, peaceful, and dynamic society, which upholds the fulfillment of human rights, dignity for all persons, and build continual social progress based on shared values and principles of good democratic and developmental governance. National security challenges greatly affect the nation's chances of achieving all its social and economic goals. These challenges also have local, geopolitical, and international dimensions. Not only has the profile of impunities increased over time, but the pattern has also changed, and higher degrees of organization and coordination have emerged. These developments and the breakdown of social morals have led to a wide spread of disrespect for the rule of law and the devaluation of human life. Human trafficking is one of the security challenges one the country is facing that requires operational responses.
She then highlighted some of the recent efforts of the agency aimed at eradicating human trafficking.
Shortly after my appointment as Director General of Naptip, I undertook to rejig and restructure some of the approaches towards getting things done in the agency. Some of these approaches introduced are as follows: robust engagement of the media, engaging the private sector and corporate organizations, engaging the embassies and foreign missions more, massive awareness campaign in all the communities, the rural communities, engaging the federal government to strengthen its political will towards combating human trafficking, adoption of the whistleblowing policy, establishment of the Naptip Training Resource Center, infusion of trafficking in persons into the curricula of primary and secondary schools in Nigeria, specialized training for personnel, establishment of the Naptip Rapid Response Squad, advocacy for adequate funding. Since inception, the agency has successfully prosecuted hundreds of cases and obtained 335 convictions as at December 2017, now 338. The traffickers are serving various jail terms in different states of the Federation and abroad, and other cases that are pending in various courts are at different stages of disposal and judgments. Finally, the agency acknowledges the magnitude of the menace of TIP as a collective obligation which must be done by the federal, state, and local governments, as well as the civil society and the organized private sector. Naptip, in realization of its mandate to coordinate all issues relating to TIP in Nigeria, is poised to harnessing all available instruments to effectively tackle the menace.
With the flag-off of the symposium by Dame Julie Oka-Donley, the technical session began in earnest with presentations on global trends in human trafficking, following the money by Cwag representatives Amanda Plisner, Richard Labelle, and Anthony De Silva. Strategies to combating the scourge of human trafficking, the 3 Ps paradigm by the Attorney General of Cross River State, Honorable Joe Abang. Human trafficking and prosecution, the Malawi and Nigerian experience by Maxwell Matawere, Arinze Mbanefo of Naptip, and Imabong Sanusi of Whatclef. Finally, barriers to effective investigation and prosecution of human trafficking by Greg Esele of Naptip. This was followed by a highly interactive panel discussion moderated by Chief Anthony Idigbe, Senior Advocate of Nigeria.
Nigeria is really far ahead compared to other countries. We've done quite well in terms of having a legal framework. However, the statistics sort of suggest that you have a lot of Nigerian involvement with human trafficking, maybe due to our, of course, relatively large population. And so there's need to do much more, even in Nigeria, both in terms of reforming the law and in terms of enforcement of even the existing law and implementation. And the existence of Naptip enables that to occur. And the reliance on the general enforcement agencies like the police clearly is not adequate because it requires special skills, special investigators, special prosecutors, etc. And from what we've seen so far at this symposium, it is clear that Naptip is already acquiring those skills. However, the judges have a critical role to play in all this, and it seems that the normal, say, rules of evidence, the normal procedures, etc., may not adequately address cases of human trafficking. So there are a couple of adjustments that can be done in the court processes to ensure that the result is being achieved.
The representative of the Attorney General of Lagos State, Omololu Adesina, commended Naptip and also bared her mind on issues of human trafficking.
I want to congratulate the organizers of this workshop, the Naptip, the Cwag, and everybody that has contributed to this symposium. It's gone a long way to open our eyes to the problems that are there and all that has been done to curb the trafficking of persons. I am of the opinion that we should first of all cover and all these porous borders, because that's where they take them to or take them through. Because without the porosity, without that, this issue will have been gone in the system. Naptip is doing a marvelous job, and that will ask that the federal government should empower them the more, give them more funds, because you need funds to do all these things. Without funds, you can't do anything.
The symposium was highly interactive as several issues, including questions, comments and observations, were raised by participants. As the symposium ended on the first day, the training of Naptip officers on combating the scourge of human trafficking commenced the next day. The sessions were highly interactive as the resource person from the United States made presentations and also sought to know the operations of Naptip. The third day also continued with interactive lectures and discussions, as well as case preparations. The Director, Training and Manpower Development, Olubiyi Olushayo, stressed on the need for capacity building.
Training and retraining forms the bulk or the basis of Naptip activities. Not Naptip alone, any meaningful MDA, Ministry, Department or Agency. I can tell you that this is a mini Naptip. Mini Naptip in the sense that representative of each of the units, command, departments and zones are all here. So it cuts across, and participants will go back to their various departments, units, zones, and the knowledge acquired will be cascaded to other officers of the agency so that we can use it to further arm ourselves and to become combat ready. At the end of this 2-day training, our participants will come out better, will come out stronger, will come out reinvigorated, will come out more prepared to confront the menace of human trafficking. And it has also addressed all the thematic areas of the agency's mandate. In the area of policy, prevention, protection, prosecution and partnership. So all the thematic areas are well covered. So by and large, it has been a very, very wonderful training, both in content, in style, and in presentation.
As the interactive sessions continued in earnest, one of the facilitators, Amanda Plisner, shared her experience.
Human trafficking, any criminal activity, but certainly human trafficking, is not a static crime. It doesn't remain the same over time. And as the trends continue to change, I think there's always room, and it's always a good idea to have more training so you're more up to date with the trends, with the ways traffickers are trafficking victims, and the different mechanisms and technology and tools out there to allow us to keep up with them so we can win the fight. It's been a wonderful experience for the 2-day training here in Abuja. The exchange of ideas was wonderful. The participation was really unlike any I've seen before. It was a really collaborative, informative conversation, and my expectations were exceeded. The officers were all really sharp, really engaged, really passionate. You can tell that this is work that they really care about and that they take very seriously, and they came here ready to learn. And definitely have a sense of wanting to carry out their jobs in the best way that they possibly can.
Having concluded the lectures and discussions, the 2-day workshop on combating the scourge of human trafficking for the Naptip officers came to a close with the presentation of certificates to participants. Some of the participants said the training is a welcome development.
This training will be of tremendous benefit to the agency. It will, because it has exposed us, to other aspects of human trafficking. not only in Nigeria, but also in the world. It has also made me to understand that some social medias, that social media like Badoo also, that we are now going to look into it. We are now going to look into that scope of that social media, Badoo and WhatsApp application, seeing very well that they can also use it to traffic victims and expose them to sexual exploitation.
The training has been quite beneficial, and even though it's for mainly for the investigators and the prosecutors, but because the agency is a unique agency, so what is beneficial to the investigator is also beneficial to me as an administrator, because we're working towards the same goal, working towards the same mandate. So I think the training is all encompassing. It covers everything, and every one of us benefited. Those of us those that are counselors, those that are investigators, those that are prosecutors, even those in public enlightenment, because everything came up. So it's quite beneficial. They learned from us and we learned from them. So it's been a very beautiful experience, I must say.
We have been able to compare instances of trafficking cases in the US and in Nigeria. It has actually been a very rich experience. We have been able to put together what they do in the US concerning human trafficking cases and what we do here in Nigeria and our challenges. And we've been able to prefer solutions going forward, how we should better prosecute trafficking cases, how we can better investigate trafficking cases. Yes, it has been a worthwhile experience. We're grateful for Cwag and the agency for putting this together, and we hope that we'll have more of these trainings because it has been an enriching experience.
With the exchange of ideas, information shared, lessons learned and closer ties built in the past 3 days, the Naptip officers and leadership are indeed motivated to stop human trafficking in Nigeria.
Stop human trafficking!
Human trafficking, popularly known as modern-day slavery, is very much with us, even in this 21st century. It is a crime against God and humanity. You may be thinking, this message is not for me. Think again, because if you are paying your employee through an agent, you are a trafficker. If you employ a child under 12 years as a domestic worker, you are a trafficker. If you abduct a person against their will, keep and exploit them for monetary gains, you are a trafficker. If you promise international jobs with the intention to exploit the victim sexually and for cheap labor, you are a trafficker. If you buy and sell human organs, you are a trafficker. There are so many components of trafficking with devastating effects on the victims. This victim may be your daughter, son, brother, sister, mother, or father. Let us be our brother's keeper. Join hands with Naptip to stop human trafficking now.
Report cases of human trafficking to these Naptip hotlines: 0703 00 203, 080 02 255 627847. Naptip, empowered to protect you.
For more enquiries and support, or to report cases of suspected human trafficking and child abuse, please call Naptip hotlines on 0703 00 203 or 0800 2255 627847 or email info@naptip.gov.ng. Visit our website www.naptip.gov.ng. Follow us on our social media platforms at Naptip Nigeria and watch our videos on YouTube.
Hope you were enlightened. Please support Naptip by reporting cases of human trafficking, domestic violence and child abuse. Our time is fast spent, but I must thank you for watching and urge you to keep a date with us same time next week. I am Emmanuel Okeke. Goodbye.